All right, imagine this. You're this young baseball player, and you get drafted first overall. You're the future of the franchise, right? And that is the beginning of Josh Hamilton's story, one that takes us through these incredible highs and these devastating lows. And we're going to be diving deep into this story, all gleaned from his Wikipedia page. So buckle up, because this deep dive, it's a journey through talent and addiction and the complex nature of redemption.
I think it's fascinating how Hamilton's story, it kind of resonates beyond baseball, doesn't it? Because it's a study in human potential and then the fragility of success, but also the power of second chances.
Exactly. And we're going to unpack all of that starting from the very beginning. So it all starts in 1999. The Tampa Bay Devil Rays, they're holding the coveted #1 pick in the MLB draft. They're looking for a game changer, and they find one, Josh Hamilton, this high school standout from North Carolina.
I mean, he was phenomenal even back then in high school. When he was running a 6.7 60-yard dash, throwing a 97-mile-per-hour fastball. And oh, by the way, he was hitting over .500 with tons of home runs.
Right.
You know, the total package.
Living the dream, right? Signs a $3.96 million signing bonus. Absolutely tears it up in the minor leagues. He even earns the Minor League Player of the Year honors from USA Today in 2000. This guy, he was on the fast track to superstardom.
He was. And it's interesting, too, because his family was a huge part of this success. His parents were incredibly supportive. You know, they even quit their jobs to travel with him during those early years. I mean, that kind of commitment, you know, it speaks volumes about their belief in their son.
It really shows the dedication and sacrifice. That goes hand in hand with pursuing a professional sports career, right? Not just for the athlete, but for the whole family. But then, in 2001, tragedy strikes. Hamilton and his mother were involved in this serious car accident.
It's a pivotal moment in his life because,
Very.
you know, while his mother recovered, Josh suffered from back injuries that sidelined him. And this is, you know, where things take a darker turn. This is a real turning point that could have ended his career before it even really began.
Yeah, it's where the story shifts from sports prodigy to something much more human.
Much more relatable, right? It's a young man facing these physical and emotional challenges and, like we often see, turns to alcohol and drugs to cope.
And it wasn't just a casual, fleeting moment. It spiraled into this full-blown addiction, something that had a grip on him for years.
Yeah.
You know, which showcases the complexities of it and how it can impact anyone, regardless of talent or success.
Absolutely. Behind the bright lights, the million-dollar contracts, athletes are still human, susceptible to the same struggles as anyone else. And this period, from 2003 to 2006, particularly rough for Hamilton. He failed multiple drug tests, received suspensions from MLB, even got arrested for damaging a friend's truck.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a testament to the power of addiction. It wasn't just a matter of willpower. It was a real ongoing battle against a disease, you know? It makes you wonder how many people would just given up at that point.
Right. The odds were stacked against him. It would have been easy to just walk away. But there's something about Absolutely. And that's where we see the impact of those who believed in him, even at his lowest. A former minor leaguer by the name of Roy Silver, who ran a baseball academy in Florida, reached out to Hamilton.
Wait, Roy Silver, now I know that name. Didn't he have a bit of a rough go of it himself in the minors? So what did he offer Hamilton?
Well, he offered him a chance to work at the academy, a chance to be around the game he loved. In exchange for, using the facilities to train, it was a lifeline, a chance to get back on his feet.
It's amazing how sometimes the most unexpected people step in and make a difference. Silver, he recognized the potential in Hamilton, the talent that was still there, and he gave him this chance to rebuild his life.
Absolutely. This was a turning point, right? He slowly started putting the pieces back together, working his way back into shape, eventually even getting back into playing, minor league games.
Okay, so he's back on the field, showing those flashes of the old brilliance. But how did he get back into the major leagues?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. It all comes down to the Rule 5 draft. Now, this is a unique mechanism in baseball, where players who haven't been added to a team's 40-man roster can be drafted by other teams.
Okay, but how does that relate to Hamilton? I mean, he was drafted first overall. Surely he was on someone's 40-man roster.
You would think so, right? But incredibly, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, the team that drafted him #1, left him unprotected, making him eligible for this Rule 5 draft. And this is where the Cincinnati Reds saw an opportunity and swooped in.
Wow. Talk about a second chance. That's like getting cut from the varsity team and then getting recruited by a rival school. The Reds, they saw something special in Hamilton, even after everything he'd been through.
They were willing to take a gamble, a chance on this player who was once considered the best prospect in baseball, whose career had, seemingly derailed.
Yeah.
And you'll see it was a gamble that paid off, in a big way.
So he's back in the major leagues, playing for the Reds. What happens next? I am on the edge of my seat.
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Hamilton's major league debut with the Reds was one for the ages. You won't believe the reception he got.
Okay, I'm dying to know. Let's get into it.
It was April 2nd, 2007. The Reds were playing the Chicago Cubs. And as Hamilton walked up to the plate for his first at-bat, the entire stadium, they erupted in this standing ovation that lasted a full 22 seconds.
Hold on. They gave him a standing ovation before he even swung the bat. That's incredible.
Everyone knew his story, the talent, the battles he'd fought, this incredible journey back to the big leagues. It was a moment that transcended the sport, a real testament to the human spirit's capacity for redemption.
You got that right. It's one of those moments that gives you goosebumps. And it reminds you that sports, it can be so much more than just wins and losses. So how did he pick up right where he left off in the minors?
Well, he had a solid year with the Reds, batting .292 with 19 home runs and 47 RBIs. Not quite the numbers he was putting up before his struggles, but still a very respectable season considering everything.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that he was even able to get back to that level after all those years away from the game. But wasn't this around the time that he started making a name for himself with the Texas Rangers?
Absolutely. It was before the 2008 season that the Reds traded him to the Texas Rangers. And this is where Josh Hamilton's story really takes off.
This is the part of his story I remember so vividly. He was just electric on the field, hitting these home runs. It felt like every night he was doing something amazing.
Oh, yeah, 2008, true breakout year for Hamilton. He led the league in RBIs for the entire month of April, won AL Player of the Month twice in a row, something that had never been done before. And he even landed on the cover of Sports Illustrated, cementing his status as a true superstar.
It was almost like watching a Hollywood movie unfold in real life. A fallen star, battling back to reach the pinnacle of his sport. But beyond the stats and the accolades, there's one story from that season that I think really captures who Josh Hamilton was.
You're talking about the All-Star Game Home Run Derby.
Yes. That moment with Clay Counsell, his childhood batting practice pitcher. Remind me about that. It was such a special moment.
Okay, so picture this. It's the Home Run Derby, one of baseball's most exciting events, and there's Hamilton, this young superstar, surrounded by the biggest names in the game. And who does he choose to pitch to him during the Derby?
A 71-year-old man named Clay Counsell, a man who had been there for him since he was a kid, tossing him batting practice in his hometown of Raleigh, North Carolina.
Exactly. It was this beautiful full-circle moment, a testament to the power of loyalty and mentorship, and the unwavering belief of those who supported him through it all.
It's a reminder that even amidst the glitz and glamour of professional sports, sometimes the most meaningful moments come from the simplest acts of human connection. But let's not forget about the incredible display of power he put on during that derby. He was absolutely crushing home runs.
He was, and that power was on full display throughout that 2008 season. You remember the game against the Tampa Bay Rays, where he received an intentional walk with the bases loaded?
Wait, an intentional walk with the bases loaded? Now, that's something you don't see every day. I mean, it's basically giving the other team a free run. Why on earth would they do that?
Yeah, that's a rare strategic move.
Yeah.
But in this case, the Rays were up by 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth. They decided it was better to give up a single run than risk Hamilton hitting a grand slam and potentially tying the game. It was a testament to his raw power and the fear he instilled in opposing pitchers.
Wow. It's like saying, we respect your hitting ability so much that we're not even going to give you a chance to swing the bat. It's almost like a backhanded compliment in a way. So overall, would you say that the Rangers' years were good to Hamilton?
They were phenomenal. He continued his success in 2009 with another All-Star selection, although it was a season hampered by injuries. But then in 2010, he truly reached the pinnacle of his career.
This was the year that he won the AL batting title and was named the American League's most valuable player, right?
Yes, and he led the Texas Rangers to their first ever World Series appearance, a historic achievement for the franchise, and a moment of redemption for Hamilton after everything he'd overcome.
Of course, they ended up losing to the San Francisco Giants in the World Series, but reaching that stage was an incredible accomplishment.
It was.
It felt like he was living a charmed life, both personally and professionally.
Well, while his professional life is soaring, his personal struggles unfortunately continued. In early 2012, he experienced another public relapse with alcohol, issuing this heartfelt apology to his fans, his teammates, and his family.
Yeah, it's a reminder that addiction, it's a lifelong battle. And it doesn't just disappear with success or fame. It's this constant challenge that requires ongoing effort and support.
You're absolutely right. But even in the midst of these struggles, Hamilton continued to achieve remarkable things on the field. You remember May 8th, 2012?
That date rings a bell, but I can't quite place it. Refresh my memory.
Okay, well, this was the day that Josh Hamilton etched his name into baseball history. He hit 4 home runs in a single game against the Baltimore Orioles, a feat accomplished by only 16 players in the history of Major League Baseball. He even set an American League record for total bases in a game with 18.
Wow, 4 home runs in one game. That's absolutely incredible. He must have been an obvious choice for the All-Star game that year.
He wasn't just an obvious choice. He received more All-Star Game fan votes than any other player in history up to that point. I mean, it seemed like nothing could stop him. And this incredible performance, coupled with his captivating story and talent, made him one of the most sought-after free agents in baseball. And then came the massive 5-year, $125 million contract with the Los Angeles Angels.
Ah, the Angels years. This is where things took a turn, right? A new team, a new city. This massive new contract seemed like the perfect next chapter. But something tells me it didn't quite go according to plan. What happened?
Well, while the move to the Angels initially held so much promise, it unfortunately marked the beginning of the final chapter in his Major League career.
So what went wrong? Was it injuries? A decline in his skills? Or something else entirely? Well, I know injuries, they're just part of it, right? For any athlete, especially in a demanding sport like baseball. But was that the main factor in his decline with the Angels?
I mean, it was certainly a contributing factor. He battled a series of injuries during his time in Anaheim, but it was more than just the physical toll. He faced these performance issues, the pressure of living up to that massive contract. And unfortunately, he relapsed into drug addiction.
It must have been just a crushing blow for him, both personally and professionally. To go from being at the top of your game to struggling with those demons again, it's just a stark reminder of how fragile success can be.
Absolutely. And it's important to acknowledge the courage it takes to publicly confront addiction. It's a disease that carries a lot of stigma, and it's often met with judgment rather than understanding.
Yeah, you're right. We tend to put athletes on this pedestal, forgetting that they're human beings, facing these real challenges. So how did the Angels handle this situation? It couldn't have been easy for them, especially with the financial investment they made in Hamilton.
Yeah, it was a difficult situation for everyone. The Angels, they ultimately decided to trade Hamilton back to the Texas Rangers in 2015, effectively ending his time with the team, despite, the remaining years on his contract.
It's a move that's widely considered one of the worst free agent signings in MLB history. But I imagine there was a sense of relief for Hamilton, returning to a familiar environment where he had experienced so much success.
There was certainly a sense of, coming full circle, a return to where it all began. He played one final season with the Rangers in 2015,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, multiple knee surgeries forced him into retirement.
It must have been heartbreaking for him to have his career cut short like that, especially after fighting so hard to overcome his previous setbacks. So, what happened to Josh Hamilton? After he retired from baseball, did he find peace and stability away from the pressures of professional sports?
Well, his post-baseball life, it has unfortunately been just as complex and challenging. In 2019, he was inducted into the Texas Rangers Hall of Fame, a testament to his impact on the franchise and his remarkable comeback story.
That's a fitting honor, recognizing his achievements and the mark he left on the organization. It seemed like a happy ending to this really tumultuous journey.
But sadly, that same year, he faced serious legal trouble, charged with a felony for allegedly assaulting his daughter. And this incident, it kind of brought back this harsh reality that personal demons can persist. Even after achieving great success, it reminds us that life is rarely a neat and tidy narrative.
It's a reminder that there's often a lot more happening beneath the surface, and even those who seem to have it all can be struggling with their own battles. So what was the outcome of that case?
Well, in 2022, he pleaded guilty to unlawful restraint and received a year probation, a fine, and was ordered to perform community service. It was a difficult chapter in an already, tumultuous life, raising these questions about the long-term impact of trauma, the complexities of addiction, and the challenges in navigating life after the spotlight fades.
It's a story that leaves us with more questions than answers. What does it say about the pressures we put on athletes, especially those who achieve stardom at such a young age? And how can we, as a society, do a better job of supporting those battling addiction, even when they stumble?
Yeah, I think you raised some really important points. Hamilton's story, it's a reminder that we need to look beyond the statistics and the highlight reels and recognize the human beings behind them. The individual's facing real-life challenges that extend far beyond the playing field. It challenges us to really think critically about our own perceptions of success and failure and
Right.
redemption.
Josh Hamilton's story. It's one of remarkable talent, heartbreaking struggles, and this constant pursuit of redemption. It's a story that forces us to confront these uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world we live in.
His legacy is a complicated one, filled with both these triumphs and these tragedies. But it's a story that reminds us that even amidst the glory and the fame, there's a human being who needs our empathy, our understanding, our support.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the life and legacy of Josh Hamilton. It's a story that'll likely stay with you long after you finish listening. A story that reminds us that life is messy, unpredictable, and ultimately a journey of growth, setbacks, and the constant search for meaning.